Okay, so for my video, I chose to do the Lost Generation. So the term Lost Generation not only refers to a group of people who were born from 1883 to 1900, but also to a group of writers who were active at that time. The generation was named the Lost Generation based on a quote by Gertrude Sheehan, who said to a young Ernest Hemingway in the years after World War, "All of you young people who served in the war, you are a lost generation." This phrase described the disappointment that many Americans felt, especially the intellectuals and writers at the time. And they felt this disappointment because a lot of death came from World War I and a lot of carnage came, and they felt that it was unnecessary and it could have been prevented. And this was a time that still many people were like, that's Europe's war, why did we join it? So the younger generation lost faith in traditions like family values, fidelity, honesty, truth, and religion, and instead they turned to a lifestyle of self-indulgence, rebelliousness, and living kind of just like an aimless life. They didn't really have a purpose. So this lifestyle became the symbol of the Roaring Twenties, with the beautiful flapper dresses, the huge parties like how Gatsby used to throw, secret speakeasies, and all of that like wonder of the Roaring Twenties. But in reality, this lifestyle was kind of just a way to get away with reality and to escape it. Before World War I, many Americans were not exposed to people with deformities, and if you did have a deformity, you could often get like harassed and bullied and stuff. But after World War I, 37,000 soldiers came home with facial deformities or other bodily deformities, like both their legs missing and arm missing. And they had like a burden and a fear inside of them that their loved ones would see them as monsters. So many of them turned to a life of doing drugs and alcohol so they could forget that pain and they wouldn't feel like they are a monster. And while they did, there was a French scientist who made like masks to cover the deformities and that would like blend in with your face almost. They still felt like underneath they were monsters because of what they had to do for the war. The tragedy that was around every corner still haunted people even after they left the trenches. And they would often remember the voices and their faces of their comrades and how they died. So this led them to live a life of PTSD, but they didn't quite know what that was yet. And they didn't have like a way to help because they didn't know. And a lot of them would think, how could a good God let people suffer like this? How could a good God let there be war? And why am I the one who got to live when they didn't? So this caused a lot of people to drop all religion, especially people who just came back from the war, especially the younger ones. Because when you are at war and when you come home, you have that burden of that man went to the war like I did, but he didn't get to come home to his family. So what makes me special? And you have that survivor's guilt. And a lot of the lost generation suffered that, if not all of them. So this also caused a drop in marriage and fidelity rates because they knew that their life could be taken at any second. They'd seen it before. So they didn't really care about their futures or raising families because they really didn't have a will to live anymore. And the lost generation, although many did make it back home, the physical and mental scars made them almost ghost of themselves, which resulted in wives leaving, their kids not really knowing who they were anymore. And they truly just lived up to their title. They were lost. Because no matter how hard you try to make someone want to live and have like a great life like they did, if they don't want to live, you can't force them to.